Happy Saturday, Risers. Saagar and I are back to break down some of our favorite moments from our interviews this week. We had our fair share of big names on the show, including Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi, Rashad Robinson from Color of Change, and director Michael Moore, and also 2020 candidate Marianne Williamson.
But we thought we'd kick things off today with an interview with our colleague here at The Hill, Max Greenwood. Max had some really interesting reporting this week on how Democratic primary candidates are spending their money. Let's take a look.
Joe Biden has spent about $925,000, just under $1 million on private planes in the past 3 months. And that's, just for context, about twice as much as the runner-up, which is Pete Buttigieg at about $450 million or so. So Biden is, by far leading the pack on that front.
$1 million on private planes.
Yeah, if you're a donor, you hate to see it.
And that's the thing. It's not working.
Right.
It's $1 million to shuttle him around to fundraisers where he's not raising any money.
Well, and since that interview, we've learned that Biden allies are really trying to push forward with a super PAC so that a few of them could put in, millions instead of being capped down at the, couple of thousand that they're capped down at right now. Because he, of all the candidates, has, I think, the highest or the second highest ratio in terms of the number of donors who've already maxed out. Like, they're done. They can't give you any more unless you go the super PAC route. And that's the problem with this old model of politics that he's following. If you don't have that grassroots energy that can give and give and give, and that you're ultimately accountable to instead of these wealthy donor types, it ends up being a real problem.
It is a big problem.
So, we talked to a lot of members of Congress on this show, but our interview with California Democratic Representative Mark DeSaulnier stood out. He's one of just a handful of Democrats who have actually come out and said it was wrong for Hunter Biden to sit on the board of that Ukrainian energy company while his dad was vice president. Take a look. In a future potential Democratic presidential administration, do you think it would be appropriate for the family member, the son of the president or the vice president, to be sitting on the board of an energy company in a country where they maintain that portfolio?
No, he should not have been. It was wrong, and they have said it was wrong. Having said that, that'll be part of the campaign. The vice president is not the president of the United States right now. He's not in office, but there's no defending, in my view, what they did. That shouldn't have been done. It was inappropriate.
See, Democrats, it's not
so
that
easy.
hard.
Yeah, I know.
Just feel, it wasn't
I love
great.
that because he was just like, no, shouldn't have happened.
Right.
And he's like, and we can focus on Trump. And now I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah,
sure.
then you're being honest. Like, you're not trying to just say only that team's bad. I mean, it's, it's just incredible how they try to wrap themselves in knots to try to avoid saying this was a bad look.
Ted Lieu coming on the show. People get money for boards all the time. I was like, come on, man. That just shows you just partisan hackery, right? I mean, at least this is intellectually consistent. I'm like, okay, fine.
That's exactly right. And I think the other problem is, and I don't think this is true of Ted Lieu specifically, but many of these people have family members who've engaged in similarly shady conduct, or they themselves want to cash in on their service the moment that they walk out the door. So they're worried about how that may look in the future, too.
Exactly. All right. Finally, we wanted to highlight a conversation with Tim Pool. He's host of Timcast on YouTube. We talked to him about a lot of things during our two-part interview, but he had a really insightful take on media bias I wanted to highlight. Let's check it out.
What I've seen from many of these companies is the assumption that because every generation is more progressive, if you want to have a news entity that survives 10 years from now, you need to make sure you're capturing a younger audience. I think that's one of the things that's driving it, but I do think it's ill-informed because when people get older, their views change, and I think most people really just want to be told the truth. If you're going to pander to them, eventually they get angry with you and they walk away.
Yeah, Tim couldn't be more right, which is that you have all these like old, Gen X and Boomer people who are like, what do these millennials want?
What do the youngsters want?
No, like they just wanted to know the truth. They don't want to hear your stupid talking points over and over again. They just want you to like present the information to you relatively fair to all sides, but that's not what you get. That's just not how media works anymore.
I wish that the media was actually catering to a young audience because I think you'd get much different coverage. I mean, I do think that there is is this like, let's get a boomer to like imagine what millennials might. I do think that's a thing that goes on. But I think the bigger issue isn't so much the generation that they're pitching towards, is the class that they're pitching towards. They're pitching towards this affluent class who will buy their subscriptions, who will buy their products. And that comes with a certain lens. So for example, it comes with a comfort in addressing identity issues, racism, sexism, etc., but less comfort with addressing class issues, which might erode their own money or status or power, etc.
So when they say millennials, what they really mean are the millennials who live in 5 coastal cities and Chicago, right? And who have an income of like around $100,000 a year and who don't have any kids and buy New Yorker subscriptions. They're not actually talking about the other millennials who are, working class, didn't graduate from college, or just have a high school diploma and are working a normal job, who have the same concerns as everyday Americans. So that's what it actually means when they say millennial. They don't mean everybody who's actually in the millennial
generation. I don't even know that they mean those ones that you just laid out, because they are often struggling with student debt. Struggling potentially with health insurance, struggling to imagine even being able to afford a home, let alone a family. So I don't know that they're really pitching to any of the millennials, even if they're in their mind they think that they are. All right, that does it for us. Be sure to check back here later today for part 2 of Saagar's interview with Jimmy Dore, and for our recurring segment with Katie Halper from Rolling Stone's Useful Idiots podcast, where we dig in on all the greatest media fails of the week.
That's right. And make sure you're coming back tomorrow for another round of Rising Cues. We're going to see you then.